think one of the quotes that always got me with Kahneman is, just because you're aware of the behavioral vulnerabilities does not mean you're immune to them. You're not. And so, in the context of that idea, how much can we really expect to manage, overcome, nudge the sort of the behavioral challenges that we have? Do you have, what are your thoughts on that? Like, how much can we do? How much free will do we have?
Anytime it relies upon just knowing it and some kind of willpower, I will short that all day long. I don't think just knowledge plus willpower gets you much of anywhere. I do this time for a living, and every night when I'm going to bed, I'm like, wow, here are the 5 mistakes I made that I myself would have predicted I would make through the course of the day.
That's awesome.
The things that work. So I sometimes thinking about it, like if somebody is literally myopic, short-sighted, I needed glasses growing up. You could tell them to go around squinting all day, or you could make them a pair of glasses. And so you have to say, here's the problem. Here's how I'm going to create a solution outside of yourself in order to deal with it. So everything that I try and do for me revolves around putting boundaries or automation or things around myself so that I'm set up either environmentally or, nudging to
habits.
do it myself. Yeah.
When my sales guys come and say, Adam didn't show up to the meeting again. I mean, what's wrong with him? I'm like, what's wrong with him?
How can you call Adam?
It's not what's wrong with him. It's what's wrong with you. You know your player. You know his biases. It's you're the one who should have reminded him 5 minutes before and then 10 minutes before that to make sure that he's there on time. This is your fault, right? That's making the glasses for my team rather than expecting us all to change our behavior. Have you guys seen the
hold on one sec.
Yeah. Have you guys seen Darren Brown's The Push?
Yes, of course. Yeah, that's good. That's great. Netflix, right? That's great. That's
so
bonkers.
I remember so Dan, have you seen Darren Brown's The Push?
No.
On Netflix? Okay, you got to see it. So this is a mentalist who did a whole show around he was basically a set of actors, with the exception of a few individuals that didn't know they were part of this scheme, where throughout the episode they nudge them towards compliance, right? They start asking them to break small little rules, like, oh, we got to put out the veggie platter, but we don't have any veggie meals. Don't worry about it. Don't tell anybody. We'll just put them out and nobody will know the wiser, right? Small things like this. And the end is whether they will, it takes them to such a point where at the end they ask them to actually push somebody off a ledge, or else they're going to go to jail, right? And anyway, at the end of this, one thing that stuck with me is what did you learn from this? I'm like, well, what I learned from this is that, I'm not going to become as compliant as I was before. I'm really going to take this. I'm like, no, you're not. You're going to kill the next.
What I learned from this is that would never happen to me.
You are never going to get over that.
No, but the ultimate lesson from that episode for me was the very first 5 minutes where they went through the process of screening eligible candidates. Right. So they had a process where they brought, so they planted people in a room and they rang a bell every minute. And when they rang a bell, the planted people would stand, and then the next bell they would sit. And then the next bell, they would stand, etc. So they brought the actual contestants in, and these plants would rise, stand and not, and they would select contestants based on whether they would arbitrarily stand and sit with the bell because they were modeled by the plants.
Not only that. What was crazy about that? People. What was crazy about that is that they would start with 9 actors and put one non-actor in. And so the 9 actors would get up and sit down and get up and sit down. And then eventually, if they didn't comply, they were asked to go until they brought in the next person. And then that person got up and down. Then they took out an actor and brought in another regular person, so that it went on and on till the end. It was no actors. It was just these people getting up and down without anybody forcing them to do it. They had simply gotten into that rhythm, and that's how they were selected.
But the best part of this, right, is that, yes, of course, all of the nudges were necessary to coordinate the final objective.
Yeah.
but none of them were possible if you didn't have a person who was already wired to do what they were told. Right. So again, just emphasizing.
Yeah, it was a selection bias for sure.
Yeah. Well, there's also, again, there's no free will. There's just, you're wired to be this way. We're going to find people that are wired to be this way. And then we're going to program them to do what they do. And it was, I agree. It was remarkable to see just how far you could nudge these people to be compliant. But to me, all of the interesting takeaways from those episodes came in the selection criteria, not in the actual nudging criteria. But they're absolutely fascinating. And you should definitely, Dan, I think they'd be right in your fairway.
Oh yeah,
everything Darren Brown has done is amazing. He did another one with.
There's a few of them actually. There's 2 or 3.
Like, he gets. Anyway, there's a few politically based ones that are good.
Right.
Just look up Darren Brown on Netflix and watch them all. They're pretty fantastic.